course of that time, many of you have gotten to know him. I certainly have gotten to know him. And he has a great background. He was in corporate America and transitioned from executive positions into his own consulting and marketing company. So he's got some great experience, great insights, and great information to share with us today. So please help me welcome Steve to the stage.
Thanks, Michael. It's nice to see a few familiar faces. I usually sit right over there and don't say a lot, but that guy's got my chair today. And I'd like to, I see some old friends. Rick Rivers and I did business together years ago. One of my neighbors runs by my house every morning at about 6 o'clock. Where's Jane? Over in Tomoka Oaks. Did you get clobbered during the storm? I lost about 10 trees. Jim Hodak, who is a first-time attendee, did a project for me about 5 or 6 years ago that is absolutely state-of-the-art and a ringer for the industry. Jim is the comptroller. I call him the operations manager for Digital Press, one of the finest printers in this country, I think. Again, my name is Steve Keeler. I started the Keeler Marketing Group back in 1980 after several very fortunate years with corporations like Campbell Soup Company, Ralston Purina Corporate, and myself and 3 other individuals introduced Duraflame wood wax fire logs across the United States. And after those 10 to 12 years in corporate America, I had an opportunity arise to start my own business, which I did. And the Keeler Marketing Group, we have a business portfolio of blue chip corporations. It's been a multifaceted endeavor thanks to some really good timing, the good fortune to represent a lot of diverse companies, and generous client referrals. I would estimate that about 60% of our business over the years has been from referrals. I'd love to tell you that we were out beating the bushes, that was true too. But there's, if you notice up on the screen, the companies that we've represented are across the board and in different industries: CPS, Porsche, American Express, Miller Brewing, my favorite. But there's a common thread in sales and marketing regardless of the product. And often from the outside looking in, you see things that corporate people in their day-to-day process of trying to run a business do not see. And basically you're addressing a set of business problems and opportunities and matching them with offsetting programs, projects, and solutions. Often that they're a little too close to their business to view like someone from the outside. These are clients over the years that I personally have represented or my company's represented, and I only included those who wrote a check at one point or another. And during the Q&A session, I'm going to take 3 of the ventures after we go through the presentation and come back and allow you to ask some questions about what made these 2 succeed, what made this one fail, because like most of us in the room, we've had our fair share of failures. As I mentioned, my history, I was born in Toronto, came to the United States to play hockey. My family was involved in racing. Definitely hockey. There are 4 boys in the family. I'm the oldest. I've got 2 brothers in the NHL Hall of Fame. And I think the most common denominator between my background and business, as I've spent it over the years, was the fact that I was really lucky to have some great mentors, starting with my dad, Andy Clark. Andy's here somewhere. You talked a lot about the influence that your dad had on your life, and very similar here. And as an adolescent, I was fortunate enough to play for 3 coaches who are in the NHL Hall of Fame. That has a real effect on everything that you do for the rest of your life. and your personal expectations and your dealings with other people. And I was truly blessed in that regard. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. I got real lucky when I retired from hockey at a fairly young age due to injuries. I was able to get into a executive management training program at Ralston Purina that was only for MBAs, of which I did not have. But the vice president of human resources was a huge hockey fan. And you know how that goes. And I worked for Purina for a lot of years, came up through the field into director of sales and marketing in the cereal division, chicken receipt tuna. We had Hostess Wonder Bread, very diverse corporation. But that's where I learned my organizational discipline. And I could not have started my own business if I had not been so lucky. All of us don't have that opportunity, but for a young kid coming out of college, it's the first thing that I would absolutely recommend is if you can get with a structured company, not necessarily a Fortune 500, do, because they are going to teach you how discipline and organizational discipline. The brand clients, and we've had clients in consumer products, sports marketing, real estate, and finance. We were founded on January 1, 1980 with 3 partners, myself, the senior partner, and age only, my youngest brother, Bob. He and I still work together on various projects, and a young lady named Jane Burton, who was an anchor lady for ABC News in Detroit at the time. And Jim's brother, by the way, was the weatherman at the station for, how long was he there, Jim?
47 years.
Jerry Hodat. Still, of course, I remember his last name. But the one thing about consulting is that you offer a familiarity with opportunities often outside of a corporation's normal domain. You're coming into a company and showing them how to do business in areas perhaps that are not germane to what they typically do. The one thing that I've found about the consulting business is if you do a really good job for your client, you're probably done in 2 to 3 years because you've shown that client everything they really need to know, and they no longer need to pay an outsider. Quite often, I've had clients say it'd be a whole lot easier to put you on our payroll, give us 60% of your time, let's define it. And so quite often I've gone on clients' payrolls for a period of time, like Stewart Enterprises, Jim, when you and I were first together. I personally and the individuals in our company have called on every single grocery chain, corporate office in America, representing 10 different product categories and covering just about every aisle in the grocery store. So that experience has become an asset over the years. I talked about evaluating 3 ventures. This was StarPack. This was the first real venture that we were involved in from concept to shelf. It was a short-term success and a long-term bust. And I've taken this venture. There's some of the products up here. We were in 20 different product categories: cereals, spaghetti sauce, trash bags, rug and room deodorizer, light bulbs. This venture started with a buddy of mine from Mobil Oil who owned Hefty Bags at the time. Came to me and said, hey, you just started a new company. You guys are doing really good. I'm in trouble. Glad Bags, which was Union Carbide at the time, had really kicked some butt and went from a low market share up to a 65 share. Hefty Bags went from a 50 share down to a 25, and private label had started getting strong. He said, look, I've lost half my market share. I'm going to lose my job. Our plant is operating at 50% capacity. What can we do? And mutually, we came up with the idea of introducing a third brand and regaining market share vicariously through someone else. And there were a lot of companies in the food business who shared some of the same problems and opportunities of excess capacity. It's a lot more profitable to run a manufacturing plant when it's running around the clock than it is to have to lay off people and run at 25% capacity. That's how this brand started. Those companies at the bottom were my suppliers in every category. And so we were able to do, without investing in manufacturing, we were able to do a startup with not a hell of a lot of money. And there were positives in that and negatives. And again, I'll blow through this because we analyzed it a little bit later. I spent 12 years on the IndyCar circuit as a sponsor broker. Simply put, finding money for the teams. And when we started doing that, I took a page out of Roger Penske's book and did what I call revenue generating event marketing. That community is where CEOs in blue jeans and ball caps are together over a weekend, people that you really would love to get to. And after you've spent 4, 5, 6 years and gain a little bit of credibility in the community, those people are accessible. And so business to business brokering became a way to generate revenue for the race team. And the example I used a little bit later is the Amway program. That presence spun into a side event called the Vail Indy Ski Challenge, which I owned, started. A bunch of us used to go out to Vail every November, the week after Thanksgiving. The town was empty, the snow was fabulous, and we used to gather casually, and I turned it into an event. It was a whole lot easier asking sponsors for 10 grand for a ski event than 10 million to sponsor an IndyCar for a season. And again, we've analyzed that along with a couple of other ventures a little bit later. Managing the consummate phase of estate planning. That's what the industry, they call it the death care business. If you can imagine an upbeat description for your product. I changed it into estate planning because 90% of the customers in this industry were pre-planning so that their loved ones didn't have to do it on the worst day of their life. And again, this is one I want to come back and talk about. But Jim, would you hold up the big black book? We found a solution to a huge, huge problem in creating what we call big black book in the cemetery industry. And it's the only one of its kind. Jim produced it, I wrote it, designed it, and got all the legal clearances. But we'll come back and touch on that very briefly in the Q&A session. And most recently, a year ago, I picked up a solar energy client, and this business is incredible. If you live in a house and you're going to be there for 20 years, and you want to eliminate your electric bill, add 50 grand to your property as an asset, never pay an electric bill for the rest of it, for the next 20 to 25 years, that electric bill would be about $125,000 cumulatively, that's easy to say. And it's a great thing to do. I'm doing it myself. But all these ventures, it occurred to me one day that I'm a gambler. I don't go to Vegas. I do once in a while, but not very often. And I get a real thrill out of gambling in business, and that's not necessarily a good thing, but I call it long ball marketing. And the reality of long ball marketing is you either hit it out of the park or you head back to the dugout and reevaluate your swing. So in looking back, about 40% of the ventures that we've been involved in over the years were profitable and brought revenue to the company. And the other 60% didn't happen and didn't generate revenue for the company. So that's, with the World Series on, I'll take a 4 out of 10 batting average anytime. But there are risks in here with doing that. And I talked about evaluating the ventures. We're going to come back and visit this during the Q&A session. Why StarPack was a long-term failure. Why the IndyCar involvement was a huge success for a lot of people, including ourselves. And through that program, we introduced the very first premium pet food program through Amway's 6 million worldwide distributors. And then another venture, the one that Jim was involved in with me, the Big Black Book, estate planning, which no one really knew anything about inside the industry except a handful of people who were never available. And we saw an opportunity in that business, and it's still an annuity to this day, because that Big Black Book is in about 1,000 cemeteries around the United States. And my business card's in the back of it. So when someone wants information about building a mausoleum or selling a mausoleum, I usually get a call once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, and I go to my manufacturer and we take care of it. One of the reasons Michael first invited me is we talked about an entrepreneur's roadmap. And I mentioned mentors over the years, and I've copied a lot of people. I have a lot of heroes in business. And so I took some of the more successful individuals and put them into a template for me personally. And it's an entrepreneur's, this pertains as much to entrepreneurs as anyone. It's the entrepreneur's roadmap to personal prosperity. These are philosophies from and activities from people who are a whole lot smarter than I am. But I've consolidated into 10 key points that I think are important. And I've taken concepts from some of the people like Anthony Robbins and Jimmy Valvano, Vince Lombardi, and leaders in our both our industries and sports in particular. I'm a real big believer that the most valuable real estate on earth is the 5 inches between your ears. If you think it's real, it's real. I mean, it is the mode that you put your brain in every single day. This is the template to personal and business prosperity per all those individuals that I've admired over the years. And number one, most important is, people say, well, what do you want to do? I want to be really successful. I want to be really rich. Well, when you hear business men and women talk, usually wealth is not on top of the list. Andy, I remember your presentation, 3 months ago or something like that now. And that was never on top of the list, and it was hardly ever mentioned. And it was the pursuit of finding a career and earning a living, doing something that you absolutely love to do every single day of your life. And, I have a similar goal, but I found out early in life that I don't like accountability. I mean, corporate America was great, and it did nothing but give me good things. I just like to do what I want to do, not what they want to do. And so my pursuit of not being accountable to other individuals in my business, you always are. The people who work for you, the people who work with you. But it's an entirely different situation. But defining success is a real important thing. You really have to come to terms with what you want. And it's not always money. And also, this has been brought up many times in different ways in this lovely theater of ours. Cherish the fact that you've got 29,200 mornings to accomplish what you want to accomplish. That's the average life expectancy in America. And as Rick, you and I got into our 50s, and then maybe even a little bit beyond.
Not me, I'm young. I'm younger.
You still always were. So respect your elders. That's really important. But I really cherish every single day. And one of my goals to success is to live longer than I normally would. So I got back into shape and did some things that may give me an extra year, 5, 10. I'll take it. Number 2, program your brain every single morning. Don't get out of bed pissed. I mean, the worst thing you can do is, oh, God. My American Express bill came in yesterday. It's due. I don't have the $745 cash. My sister-in-law's a pain in the ass, and she's coming over for dinner. And I'll tell you what, you are going to have a bad day because you just programmed it. Do not put a foot on the floor in the morning without giving yourself a break and setting the tone for the rest of the day. Huge believer in that. Again, just a couple of other things. Never be in a rush to start an ugly, hectic routine. If you're short on time, you're short on planning. It's that simple. You've got the time. We all do. We can find it. Possibility thinking is magical. Talent hits a target no one else can hit. But genius hits a target no one else can see. What might be? I think it's my favorite element of the 10 things that are common among successful people. And dream realistically about what's possible. Use possibility thinking. I call it horizontal thinking or lateral thinking. There's a whole lot of ways to do something. And really successful people find unusual ways to do them. Define your passion and gravitate towards it. Major changes are frightening, but make them. And you're always going to come out on top doing that. And if you're getting older, Rick, well, you're on your phone, so you weren't listening. But I like to do the Sunday New York Times crossword. That is great brain exercise. And actually, the News Journal, our great local paper here, has an adjoining crossword that's better than the New York Times, so you don't have to put up with the snobbery and BS from the Times. But it's a good way to activate horizontal thinking. Model after your heroes and hang with winners. Your quality of life and performance is often a reflection of those you hang with. Befriend those you admire, distance those you don't. Encounter the successful, employ their routines and habits, and try and mold what wins into your comfort style. Because we're all different, we're all comfortable doing different things. But there's no crime in modeling after those who've already done it. Hang with ethical and hardworking winners. Purge your life of those who drag you down. Some call it a divorce, but no, that's not true. My former wife and I are not only good friends, I stay with her and her husband when I go up north, so there's no kinkiness involved. But if you're miserable, get out at all reasonable cost. And my favorite book is Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, and he really talks about modeling after people. Commit by the numbers. What number is that, by the way? Number 6?
5.
Number 5. I can't see it because of my display. Numbers really do add up. That's why companies give you unrealistic quotas, because you bust your butt and they know you're at least going to get close. But I decided 2 years ago, got a little bit heavy, so I dropped a fair amount of weight, got back in shape, work on an hour every day, not quite as hard as Jane does. She was strutting by the house at a pretty high clip in the mornings. But my resting pulse rate went from 68 to 53. Now, that doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot unless you do the math. And that came out to about 7 million heartbeats a year that my heart doesn't have to slog through. And in anything that you do, you add 3 minutes a day for 300 days a year to something, and you've got 15 hours in the bank and probably 15 hours to the good. One extra sales call a week has a solid dollar value. Every company in America now knows, Andy, when someone walks through your door, you know what the percentage is that they're going to end up renting a unit from you. By the way, I'm helping a gentleman, an older gentleman, move some stuff from his house. I'm going to put it in storage for him. And I stopped in your store up on Nova and Division. They were fabulous. They couldn't do enough for the customer. And congratulations, you have a new customer, by the way. But apply numeric research to everything you do. Numbers and knowledge are hugely powerful tools. Preparation and planning with discipline. You ask 100 Fortune 500 CEOs to give you one word toward being successful, and that's discipline. And you can't know too much about your product. Your guys and gals were really up on everything that you do, the insurance, the space, the closed-in environment versus the outside environment, everything. They really had their stuff together. But preparation loads the gun, skills pull the trigger. You have the choice to be proactive or reactive. Discipline, diligence, and determination. 3 constants. We like to do what we want to do, but we should always do what we need to do first. And that really is discipline. Discipline is your resolve to pay the price. I think John Ward said that, the fellow who was in here from Gold's Gym, and I wrote it down and copied it. So I'm just modeling, I'm not cheating. And don't ever give up. None of us really have that choice. And all of us have had our back against the wall one time or another. And we're better for it when we come out. Simplifying life. Sometimes logistics seem a little bit overwhelming. On December 22nd, every single year, UPS delivers 27 million packages, or 3 items every second. And you and I have got problems with logistics. I find that to be an incredible number. Simplify your life, document your priorities, use lists, and the greatest list user I've ever seen is right here behind me. Michael's got lists that refer to lists that refer to lists, and the most important thing is cross off your list with a sense of pride. I don't care what it is. Cleaning the bathroom or mowing the lawn. Obviously, we're here to talk about business, but you've just accomplished something. Get the clutter out of your life. You probably have seen me wear this shirt because it's my favorite shirt. I like this. But I've got a closet full of suits and ties, and I've got a very nice wardrobe that I've accumulated over the years. And I wear 20% of my clothes 80% of the time. And 20/80 is a pretty common number. You will find that 20% of the salespeople in this country sell 80% of the product. Every single time, every single company. Just get rid of the clutter, fill the gas tank, make the coffee at night. Don't wait until you're running around in the mornings to do it. Next one on my list, wherever possible, become an eloquent speaker and paint verbal landscapes. Speaking isn't easy, it's uncomfortable I think, for everybody. It was amazing to listen to Johnny Carson years ago, Jay Leno. I had the opportunity to meet David Letterman, he's an IndyCar owner. And they all say that they were nervous every single time they stood up. And but it's something that that you just get a little bit better with in terms of knowing your product. And listen to the words that the top performers often use. When I got involved in this business with a client, and I still got that with this client, mausoleum sales are to the independently wealthy individual. We've sold buildings to Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, Sam Walton's family, and those are people that you don't say how much you got to spend. You say, what is your anticipated investment range for this project? Because you've really got to know what they have in mind in terms of a budget. These buildings cost anywhere from $100,000, well, no more, $200,000 for a building like that. That was my first sale. I was very well prepared, but it was a call-in. I call that serendipity. It was $5.7 million for 2 people. This up here, a gentleman by the name of Michael C. Carlos up in Atlanta, who was one of the very first Coca-Cola distributors. But etch a few stained glass words into your routine. Try to speak and write concisely. Network with vigor and passion to your trade. I'm preaching to the choir here because you are all probably wrote the Bible on this. And I like to call it TTP, TTMP. Talk to people, talk to more people. Talk to people, talk to more people. And there's a young lady, Delicia, who just bubbles over about her healthcare program and will tell you every single week about what's new. And she loves her work, and it shows. And that ends up being where you want it most, and that's on the bottom line. But value close business friends as one of your greatest assets. You can't make enough friends in business for personal and for business reasons. When you fail at something, get back up. You just figured out how not to do it. That was the common denominator from coming to this country to play hockey and ending up in business, because I found that you frequently get knocked on your ass and you get very good at getting back up. But turn your failures into asset. I think it's by far and away, you're not trying if you don't make mistakes. And I think the greatest learning tool we have are our failures. These results show us how not to do something. Take pride in standing up and say, I was the one that did that, it was wrong. I made a mistake. I don't think enough people in this country do, particularly during an election year. All I can say about that, I won't go into politics, is just hold your nose and vote. And then, those are the 10 points that I've copied from